Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Cronkite Show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. I got my co-hosts in the building, my man Donovan Sadiq, the Queen, Demetri K, and I am the 5-star general. I want to ask you a question. Man, where these pop-up organizations coming from, man? Every time you look up, it's something new. It's something different from these people. But yet it ain't no help in the hood. Tell you what, we're going to talk about it tonight. Say, I want to welcome you to another edition of the War Zone and tell you happy Hanukkah. Whatever that may mean, but, happy Hanukkah. And I want to say today was an eventful day for me because for the first time in a long time, I was kind of able to get out of the house and just do some normal stuff. And and that felt kind of good for me. I see over in Georgia, they at it again. You know how the cops gonna shoot at a car from the back with a bunch of kids in it and think ain't nobody gonna have a problem with that. So last night they went off again. People are gonna understand that this is not a normal situation, and people are not handling these situations like they're normal situations. So, another unfortunate incident with police officers, guns, and black people in the state of Georgia. And Georgia seems like a hotbed right now. I just don't know. I'm going to turn it over to Demetri.
So hello, everybody. Yes, indeed, that is definitely some bull caca. Just to put it nicely, that police officers feel that they should be shooting at children, and the children were from 9 to 16. It is said that they were coming from Walmart. I guess they were getting ready to go on a trip because some of the kids play football, and so the father said he didn't know that they had took off to Walmart. And he saw them when two of the children went running to him. They weren't too far from their houses. Their house, as a matter of fact, they're all brothers. And the children that ran to him said, hey, basically the police are shooting at us. The 15-year-old ended up getting pistol whipped by the police officer. And the 9-year-old said as he was running, he saw and heard bullets going by his head. He said, I could have been shot in the face. So obviously that's very traumatizing for children. But of course, they come up with stories that I guess they asked them, well, why are you stopping us? And really was no answer. But then, of course, they said they found a gun in the car. And so none of that to this point that I know of has been verified. But needless to say, police officers feel it's okay to shoot at children, babies, for lack of better words. And so speaking of douchebag police officers, in Harlem, police officers are accused of watching a melee, if you will, a fight. Or actually, it was an 11-year-old. She was being beat up by, I think it was 5 other teenage girls. And it is said that the police officers there just stood and watched and didn't intervene until the girl ended up bloody and bruised. And one of the girls even had a taser and a stun gun and punched her in the stomach with it. She had to go to the hospital. And so, of course, they're denying that, saying that wasn't the case. But it should also be said that the police union in New York, they're upset because they are not allowed to use the chokehold because it's now a misdemeanor if they get caught using it on a suspect. And so they're using the excuse, well, we don't want to really get involved. Our officers are afraid that they'll be charged. And so, of course, we know that due to this whole defund the police movement, they're being extra salty and not really wanting to do their job. But I would just say, before I give it to you guys, that if we want to defund the police, which I think they should be defunded, we also need to make sure on our end that we are doing our best to police our own communities, and also make sure our children aren't out there engaging in activities that are harmful to them. You know, with the 5 girls who were beating up the 11-year-old, you know, where are their parents? You know, because on the flip side of that, one of them could have gotten shot by a police officer. And so, I mean, I don't know. It's a lot going on. So, Gary, Donovan.
Well, in the news, you guys have heard there was a shooting near the White House, so they say, and Donald Trump was abruptly broken from the press conference where he tells his lies. So we didn't really much, you know, I really wish he would have stayed gone, but he didn't. But yeah, see, the police don't want to do anything because how dare you guys take my right away to shoot willy-nilly and kill people? See what happens when you take that away? I have to stand by now because you won't give me the right to choke the life out of somebody because my life is in danger. So this is why it is so important that we look at these sheriffs that are running for office, these DAs, and these judges. One of the main people that is in the running for vice president, Val Demings, she is not against the police or the police union. You want to know why? Because she was Orlando's police chief. And Attorney General Kamala Harris, here's another person, dirtbag. But yet people, oh, let's vote for them. They're black. They look like us. That's not always the case. We have to research these people and deal with it. But again, Donald Trump, they're shooting at the so-called shooting at the White House. They're still researching that because that would have been a major news story. I think they did that to curry favor with Donald Trump and his base to talk about security and how they need to clamp down on stuff. So more to follow soon.
You know, I was sitting around doing some paperwork as I'm helping somebody build an organization, and I started thinking about all these pop-up organizations. You know, as I travel, I see it in every city. Well, you got all these folk starting all these organizations, and they're all designed to help Black people. But the problem that I see is the Black people don't never get the help. I call them pop-up organizations. And a lot of times these pop-up organizations end up getting a lot of outside funding. They end up getting, you know, grants and contracts through city, county, and state. But yet the money never makes it back to the community. So tonight we're going to talk about some of these pop-up organizations. And if you know a few, then in the comment section, please comment because we need to expose these folks. Let me give you an example. When Harvey happened in Houston, and then we had the big flood, you had all types of organizations popping up out of nowhere. One of the biggest ones and been established for a long time was the Red Cross. And it was billions of dollars donated to the Red Cross. And what the hell did Black people get up out of it? A blanket? I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Let's talk about these pop-up organizations, man. They popping up everywhere. And a lot of these organizations, especially in the Black community, are ran by African Americans. And you tell me, because I see it every day. I don't see any help that these people bring to the community. Even the masses and the free groceries and all that's a scheme right now. A lot of people making money off this. The demise of poor people, not just Black people, but poor people, it seems to be big business for these pop-up organizations. Demetri?
So yes, indeed. So a pop-up organization, for lack of better words, is a nonprofit organization. Basically, they're not in business to like make money per se. They get a lot of their money from grants and charity donations and things like that. It is said that about $1 billion per day is donated to nonprofit organizations. In 2017, about $426 billion was collected for nonprofit organizations. Individual organizations make up about 70% of that, with corporations making up about 17, or actually it's corporations making up about 17% of that. So that is a lot of money donated. Again, $1 billion per day. You think about it. I mean, whether it's Christmas time, like you said, the Red Cross, they out there with the bucket, you know, and people are donating money to that, and just you name it. There's organizations, nonprofits everywhere. And so some of the biggest receivers of the money are religious, educational, arts, environment, and animal shelters, if you will. They are the largest recipients of these donations. Now, of course, there are other entities that receive this money, but it is said also that the IRS doesn't get the actual earnings of these organizations until 2 years after. So let's say now, with Black Lives Matter making, they said, was it, how much was it? $1.6 billion from the time of the pandemic, the start of it until now, probably more now. So the IRS actually won't have the accountings of that until 2022. And so, it's not really known what it might happen with the money. But Gary, to your point, we know all that money is collected, but we rarely see, especially in our community, the money being put to use. And I'll give you guys a good example. Susan G. Komen Corporation, you guys have probably all heard of that. And the pink ribbon is everywhere. The pink ribbon about breast cancer. And so it is said, now there's some loose facts around it, if you will, but it is said that that organization only gives about 20% to, helping people with breast cancer research. And it said that the CEO makes about $700,000 a year, but admittedly, that organization makes, about $3-4 billion. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's what they're worth, if I'm not mistaken. So they're worth a lot of money. But I think a lot of people don't realize, because a lot of times when we're giving money to these nonprofits, we think, oh, okay, I'm going to give $1. And the dollar is actually going to go to the cancer research or AIDS research or whatever it is, but only a small percentage of that actually goes to the actual cause. And so that's food for thought. But yeah, so we're going to talk about these pop-up organizations, nonprofits, and what are they actually doing. And you guys will see Gary going in and out. He's having a little bit of technical difficulty, so rock with us here until we figure it out.
Yeah, since we're talking about these pop-up organizations, you got to remember a lot of people start nonprofits to live off of. Here in my city, a lot of the nonprofits that are supposed to help the community, the very people that are the CEOs of them or whatever, they allot themselves a significant salary that they're living in nice big homes, nice cars, they got nice suits on, nice dresses, and that's just part of the game of how they're getting some of these grants and this federal money that's sitting there. They have to form a corporation or a nonprofit, and then they go through the process, but they're not there to help anybody. No.
Well, what's amazing to me is I'm looking at some comments, y'all can't see them, and people are calling these organizations scams, and they're bad organizations. Why do we keep giving our money to them? Why do we keep believing that these people are going to help poor people? When Harvard popped off, let's talk about J.J. Watt, man, because ain't nobody gonna say nothing about the great Houston Texan safety, but I am. JJ got millions and was supposed to disseminate that money back to the poor people. Man, people still waiting on their money, man. You'd did better taking your last $20 going to the dice game waiting on JJ Watt, because it just didn't happen. It just did not happen. So the thing is why do we keep giving our money to these people and they don't issue any help? And you know what's so crazy? The local elected official, who I feel getting they cut off the top of anything that's popping off nonprofit wise, they stand right there with them knowing they garbage. And they ride the train with them and make you believe that they're doing this and doing that. And at the same time, man, nobody seems to get the help that really needs it.
Right. And so, and to your point, as far as why do people continue giving to these nonprofits, it's because a lot of times people really just don't know how these nonprofits are set up and where the money is actually going. Like I said, most people are giving thinking all that money is actually going. But if you do your research, you'll realize that a lot of that money is not actually going to the cause. I mean, hell, with as long as something like Susan G. Komen has been in existence, you would think breast cancer would be gone by now. But, you know, like I said, October is breast cancer awareness month. You see everybody from the NFL to Campbell's Soup and Gatorade and you name it with the pink ribbon. And so that's money coming from there, but very little of that actually goes to the organization. So if you're buying a can of soup thinking the money is going, I guess the portion of it is all going to solving breast cancer, it's really not.
Well, would you think that that's from our conditioning of being in the church? Look at how much money we donate to the church, and the pastor is running around in a nice classic car, the $3,000 suits, the gator shoes, and we never question where the money goes. So, I mean, over a 100-year period that we've been doing this, I mean, isn't it foreseeable, or something that we know that we're going to do possible, that we're going to be brainwashed to do that and not question where the money's going and don't hold anybody accountable? Damn sure can't ask the pastor, can we look at the books?
Right. So, I mean, especially in our community, I think that we're having a little bit of feedback. Some of it is preconditioning. Don't ask. Just trust that the money is going where, and a lot of times they don't even really tell you where it's going. They just put a blanket on it and say, well, it's going to this cause. And so let's bring it back to our community with something like Black Lives Matter. And Gary and I actually were having this conversation right before we came on here. So as we said, they've seen at least $1.6 billion in donations from everywhere since the murder of George Floyd. So you think about it, they have actually made a profit. They're nonprofit, but they've actually made a profit off of the murder of George Floyd. But the question still remains, where is that money going and who is it actually helping? Why are our neighborhoods still dilapidated? Why haven't we solved a lot of the social ills? I know we're not going to solve them all, but damn, at least name one that has been taken care of by these donations. And if you guys know of something, please put it in the comment section.
Yeah, I will never understand how you have all these churches in the hood, and some of the churches really nice, pristine. They, all this money, because the building fund has been built up for 5 or 6 years. But then in the community that this beautiful building has been erected, it looks like shit. So I'll never understand that.
We can go a step deeper. Let's go to Texas Medical Center. Billions of dollars have been donated. Top medical center in the world. What cures have they ever come up with? Cures for what? Why we waiting on Bill Gates to come up with a vaccine? Ain't that what they do over at the Texas Medical Center? With all this money that's being donated to them? See, people don't want to know. And I give it, some people don't know, Demetra, but the bulk of them do know. They know these organizations are shams, but yet they'll still get out there and they'll support them and all this stuff here. It's hurricane season, so let's see what the Red Cross gonna do this time. Can we get that 400 again? Because everybody needed that, but I mean, think about it. That's the most I've ever seen them do. But I mean, these folks are getting billions of dollars, man, and nobody is getting any help. I don't say, man, it bothers me because I'm out there for real and I'm seeing people need help. And when they go to get help, we ran out of money. Man, come on, you gotta be joking, bro. You got to be joking, man.
Well, how do you run out of money that isn't backed by anything? That's my question. They could come up with $3 trillion to pump into the economy. You guys keep forgetting $1 trillion a day is being pumped into the economy by the feds alone. So, to me, the money question isn't, the situation. I mean, the money's there. The thing is, it's just like the 5-star said a couple of days ago. A lot of people are addicted to being poor. They're just addicted to it. Demetra?
So also, you're thinking about organizations. Think about something like the Goodwill, for example. The Goodwill, I guess there's some sort of a nonprofit entity, but they, how can I say this? They really don't buy any product or merchandise at all. All of that merchandise or product is donated to them, and they actually make a profit. And from what I understand, you know, they don't pay their people a whole lot of money. And their CEO, founder, we're having a little bit of feedback, guys. We're having just a little bit of feedback. Their CEO or founder, you know, he makes a killing, but like I said, he has a business that, you know, as all the merchandise and product is donated to him, and people go in there all the time. So not only is the merchandise donated to the Goodwill, then now people go in there and they buy it. And so, you know, where is all of that money going? Now, I know they help people, a lot of people in the special needs community with to find jobs and things like that. But, you know, I'm sure they're not paying them a whole lot of money per hour to do that. And so do people question where the money is going when they go in there and they buy things? Like, it's the Goodwill for, you know, charities or whatever, but where is their actual charitable contributions?
Let's talk about the Texas Organizing Project. TOP. You from Houston, from Texas, you know about the Texas Organizing Project, which ain't nothing but a knockoff of Acorn, who got caught up with voter fraud. Well, Texas Organizing Project would make you believe that they go into the communities and they help people. And, well, you know, when Harvey came, Donovan, I'm going to give them some credit. They did help people. They passed out about maybe 15 Walmart cards. But you got millions. Yeah, I'm putting y'all on blast. You passed out a few Walmart cards and you got millions.
Wow. This Janelle Dawn says Goodwill is more expensive than TJ Maxx, and my mom is a thrift store queen, so she says, yeah, it is what it is. It's no longer nonprofit. So. But
yeah, I'm back. I'm having trouble tonight, so y'all just bear with me. But I'm gonna fight through it because the devil don't want me to say what I gotta say. The Texas Organizing Project don't do a goddamn thing for poor people. All they do is get a whole bunch of grant money. They work with the government. They get a bunch of grant money. They keep the money. They pay the salaries, and they go out there and they say they voter organizing. Well, what you need money for? I mean, when I go out there and I vote organize, I don't need no money. What you need all that money for? See, we need to start, and y'all can try this because it actually works. Why don't you go to your nearest nonprofit and tell them to open up them books? According to the IRS, if they 501c3, they got 3 days to open them books. If not, it's punishable by up to a $5,000 fine for every day that they don't open them after the third day. Yeah, y'all didn't know I knew that, huh? That's because I ran a nonprofit, but I ran it the right way. Why don't you try it? A bum off the street can ask the church to open up their books. But when you decide to do that, you're going to become the devil himself to them people.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Whenever I had some friends that had nonprofits, and I would ask them, I would go up to them and I would say, hey, well, what do you guys do? In my city right now, we have a young man that runs a nonprofit. He does a great job doing it. And he hired some of his friends to be on the board, and they get a nice salary. But then I was talking to another friend of mine whose son went to this nonprofit. It's a mentoring nonprofit. And she said that was the worst experience she has ever been through, because basically, this is my friend that had the son saying this. The boys would show up. Now, this is supposed to be a mentoring program, and they would just sit them in there in a room. And, they might get on a little laptop computer and stuff like that. But basically, it's like being at the Boys or Girls Club where you're kind of in there and you're grab-assing, for yourself. And they're not teaching you anything. And so she pulled her son out. And a lot of people have pulled their, kids out of it, because the kids would come home and be like, well, what'd you learn? Nothing. What'd you do all day? Nothing. So, yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Some of these male mentoring programs that are nonprofits are some of the biggest shams you'll ever run across. Has anybody done any research on Am I My Brother's Keeper?
Yeah. Especially a lot of the after school programs, they get a lot of grants. And so a lot of times you might be dealing with kids who are a little bit on the unruly side and probably don't need to be there because they're a distraction, right? But a lot of times the programs won't put the kids out or expel them, kick them out, or however you want to say it, from the programs because they get paid by the amount of, just like school, by amount of kids that are in the programs. And so oftentimes kids don't learn anything. The instructors, teachers, supervisors, whoever, they're frustrated because they're, more of a disciplinarian now, opposed to actually teaching them something or participating in extracurricular activities. It just becomes more glorified babysitting because they're afraid to actually hold the children and the children's parents accountable because then they'll lose the money. And so,
I mean, even school districts have foundations nowadays that people are donating money to. But every time you look up, the black schools ain't got what they need. So where the money going? That I keep asking that question because I follow the money. The money is not coming back to the poor, and I'm saying poor communities, because the black and the Latino communities are getting shafted, especially in the Houston Independent School District, where the Latinos are the majority, but go to their schools. They don't have nothing. But you got this big old foundation that's supposed to raise money. You got all these people continuously donating money, but you never have enough money. You see what I'm saying? You never have enough money. So the question is, and if I'm digging off into this, you already know I'm digging off into this. A lot of y'all about to get exposed.
The devil is busy. The devil don't want Gary to make it do what it do.
Drop the dime. You don't want him to do it. They don't want him to do it.
But, until he comes back, which there he is. I've already told him that they're having some difficulty, so just roll with it. Yeah, so we all know somebody or people with a nonprofit organization is like, yeah, I got this nonprofit organization and, this, oh, yeah, what do you do? Well, right now it's in the building stages, but, just come back or, ask me in about 6 months or so. 6 months comes, it's like, oh, so how's your nonprofit? Well, we still building. It's still going. It's like, okay. So what you're saying is this ain't nothing but a glorified money hustle. But, with nonprofit organizations, depending on what it is, who's really doing the checks and balances? Like I said, the IRS they don't get to, release the reportings for another 2 years or so as to what actually happened with all this money that was donated. So who's actually doing the checks and balances? But I'll tell you this, checks and balances are done, just like you guys said, when you see that there's nothing actually done with the money. Let's say it is, an organization that's supposed to be helping the neighborhood, and the neighborhood looks the same. You go ask the children, well, have you, what are you doing in this program? Nothing. We just go, we hang out, we kick it, whatever, So that's where the proof is as to what's actually being done, is by, looking around you and seeing if anything has actually been served by it.
Want to switch gears a little bit. I saw a comment. Let me see if I can put it up. These young kids are killing because of poverty. Well, with the influx of money through organizations like Black Lives Matter and all these other folks, then why are we so poverty stricken? An organization that deals with, police shootings and different things, why you need $1 billion? It's okay if you get it, but the question is, what are you going to do with the money? Yeah, they're killing each other because of poverty, but when you look at it, who are the poverty pimps? Who are the poverty pimps? Everybody has checks and balances, but you can't really complain about it if the local elected official got his hand in their money pot. The person that's supposed to watch them ain't watching them because they already getting paid and they already know it. So yeah, on our side of town, it's a straight up money hustle. That's all it is, Demetri.
And you know, it's a good way. I guess a more cosmetic way, if you will, of actually laundering the money, because that's what it is. You know, it's coming in to serve one purpose and it's going out serving another. And so, but yeah, I agree with Lorenzo. These kids are killing because of poverty, and we know that where there's poverty, there's a whole lot of other things that are lacking in the neighborhood. But you know, that's what a lot of these nonprofit organizations are supposed to address, right? They're supposed to be making things better depending on what the organization's purpose is. But we're not seeing that a lot. But again, I think it's also a lack of education with our people, because we don't really, I don't want to say we don't know, but some cases we don't know what to ask. And we don't know what we should be looking for. But to me, like I said, the proof is in the pudding. If the neighborhood is not being served, then that kind of goes to show you that the money is not being used for what it says it's going to be used for.
Yeah, but at the same time, is that the nonprofit's fault for making money and people are not holding them accountable, or is that the neighborhood? Whenever I go to a depressed neighborhood and I see the trash sitting on the ground, whose fault is that? You can't, fault the government and everything like that. I mean, if you're not teaching your kids to pick up and keep their neighborhood clean, I mean, whose fault is it at the end of the day? I mean, you got the 5-star out here doing work for everybody. I mean, sometimes I sit here, Demetria, and I think when the 5-star is done and he's going on his other way, or he's doing something else, what's going to happen to the school board and the people down in Houston if nobody's going to be up there advocating? Like I said, it's really, and I'm not saying everybody's at fault. Like you said, sometimes people just don't know and they don't know the situation, but you got to get involved because you're the one that lives there.
Well, I kind of push back from the school system, and you can see the results of it. Everybody act like they got their hand in it and they fighting for the right things. But as soon as those 5-star push back, school system goes haywire. So every now and then I pop in, Donovan, and put the feds in their life.
Well, I will say this too, as far as nonprofits, whose fault is it really? Is it the people that's putting the trash there? Well, obviously we know it's the people who is throwing trash in the neighborhoods, if we're going with that example. But if you set up a nonprofit saying that you're going to address those things, and you should address those things. Don't lie to kick it. Don't start an organization talking about, well, I'm coming, organize this trash, pickup weekend and all this other stuff, and ain't nobody seen you in 5 years. That's on you, I think, because you just set out the lie for a money grab. And so, yeah, obviously it shouldn't be trash there, but because it is, and you formed an organization saying you was going to address it, your ass need to address it.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue for me, that they'll get these contracts from the city and the county, and then once they get the money, they don't fulfill what the actual grant requires them to do. So that means the city and the county is supposed to do checks and balances, but they don't do the checks and balances because they already got their money off the top.
Absolutely. And so at the end of the day, just like, with voting or any of that kind of stuff, it is our job to make sure that we are abreast of what's going on with these organizations. I don't donate money to stuff I have no idea of what it is. And, I was having this conversation with my brother a while back. A lot of people do like to give money to charities and things like that. And church is a charity. I don't care what you say. Like to give money to the church or different charities. But I said, wouldn't it just be easier to give the money directly to the people? We all know of a person that's in need of, whether it's some food, a light bill paid, because let's be honest, let's take it back to the church. A lot of those people are going to go to the church, and the church is going to tell them what? Oh, the benevolent fund is a little low right now, Sister So-and-so. Come back in 2 months when, the people have given and they, we built it up, then we can help you. But so even if you give the money to the church or the organization, the church or the organization have to have a meeting, and then they decide where and when the money is going to go. And by that time, Sister So-and-so sitting in the dark because it took, a whole meeting's worth of people to figure out to help Sister So-and-so get a light bill paid. So I'm one of those people that I like to keep money on me, at all times, because I might see somebody who is, was homeless or whatever in need, I can give it straight to them. Because a lot of times, too, you give money to these organizations, all they're going to do is buy a turkey sandwich. You give them the money, they can go buy what they want to eat. So to me, I just cut out the middleman all the time and just go straight to the person in need.
I ain't giving the church nothing. You ain't gonna get my hard-earned money and go buy some knockoff cheese and crackers and juice. You ain't finna do that with my money. And all you gotta do is look in the parking lot of the church. It'll tell you what you need to know. If your pastor rolling around here in a Rolls Royce and you catching, the metro lift to church, you already know the game is messed up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Demetria, it's funny, okay, we're all the way out here in California, but isn't it funny how that narrative is all across the country within our community? What was that pastor that was giving out $100 bills in his Rolls Royce and all that other? It was just terrible. It was just terrible. But yet people are losing their homes. The lights are being cut off. They don't have any, provisions to, take care of their kids. And he's rolling around in Rolls Royce, and we're cool with that.
So let's actually, we kind of neglected something really quick, and maybe we can spend the next 20 minutes talking about it. So Gary, where were you? Did go to church this weekend?
I actually did go to church this weekend.
So tell the good people what you learned at church this weekend.
I learned that the pastor is a coward, Isaac Matthews. I learned that his people will protect him. And I've also learned that Mr. Matthews, you've been commenting on my page all day, Pastor, that you got till tomorrow, or you're going to meet Lucifer. Yeah, I went out there on behalf of our guest whose wife is dying. And, they tried to get me away from the church and reassured me that the pastor was going to call me. So today the pastor is all on my.
Devil, we rebuke you right
yeah, they don't want to get that information out.
Get the holy water. We need the story to get out.
Yeah. The pastor all on my page today posting videos. Can't nobody open. Say, Negro, I don't know if you think I'm the mother boys, but I'm finna introduce you to Lucifer, man. I'm gonna have you up in there drinking holy water by the time I get through with you, boy. You better pick up that phone and you better call me, or you better call that young man about his wife, or you finna have some major problems, dude. I ain't got no problem with you swallowing all the holy water in there, because that is not a holy place.
Absolutely. Because, and I'm glad we kind of went back to that, because again, they will not pick up the phone. They will not return emails. I have done a matter of fact, I've been writing a story on that situation that I'm going to subscribe to the LA Times and submit it to the LA Times here. And over there in Houston as well, I contacted a few of the outlets over there as well, just to let people know this is what's going on. And this is how you get these devils to start doing what they're supposed to do. We have to get involved as a people. We have to do it, because it's obvious nobody else is going to look out for us but us.
I think the pastor needs to understand that sooner or later somebody gonna come to church over there with you, Pastor Matthews, and they just might want to lay hands on you.
So let's actually give the people, because there's a few people in the comment section asking what happened. So let's actually give them a refresher of what happened. So last Monday, and Gary, you can correct me if I'm wrong with these details, because you're better versed with it than I am. But last Monday, we had a guest on the show, Spencer Farwell, whose wife is in dire straits. She is actually, very ill due to living in mold-infested properties. One of them, for what we understand, was owned by said Pastor Isaac Matthews. And he's been, I guess they took it to court, and somehow a letter came out saying that there was nothing wrong with the properties. But Spencer showed us pictures and videos of the property, which, come on, Ray Charles can see that there was lots of mold and very, it's awful, awful things going on in the apartment. And so from that point, his wife and his child have suffered things like kidney failure. She can't breathe, says it's hard for her to walk without coughing. And, you know, we're speaking of a woman who's a fairly young woman. And so he's been trying to reach out to this pastor. Now, I also believe that this pastor owns quite a few properties that are in that condition. And, you know, during the show, we learned that the owner of that building was a pastor, which kind of took it to another level, because the pastor is supposed to be held to a higher standard and actually looking out for his people. But from the testimony we got from Spencer, it doesn't appear that that's going on. It appears that he's actually fleecing the flock, if you will, and specifically taking money from poor people and putting them up in just any old thing. And so Gary went out there on Sunday. You guys can go on his page and with his bullhorn and was, you know, asking some questions, if you will. A few of the deacons came up and, you know, was asking him for, I'm paraphrasing what was going on. And, you know, they tried to hit him with a couple of Bible verses. Tried to convict him by saying this is the house of God, and, you know, basically, how dare you come and do this? You got to do it with God, and, you know, and that's kind of where it was left off. And so, some feedback. And so, from that point, the pastor, as of today, because I've seen it, I think everybody's seen it. He's tried to respond to everybody who made a comment on that feed. And from what I can ascertain, because a lot of the links didn't open, but some of them did. And it looks like he's trying to sway the opinion of people by saying, hey, I do have a good service. Look, here I am graduating the kids of 2020. And here's this Bible study. So he's trying to appear as though he is of moral standing. And so I don't necessarily know what else to draw from that, but he's trying to debunk what Gary was saying.
Well, tell him debunk these nuts in his mouth. That's how I feel about him. And God told me to come as I am. So I showed up at the church with my shorts on and my Air Maxes. Well, I had my slippers on and my bullhorn. I came as God told me to come. So, Pastor, if you need to reread your scriptures, please do that. Because if you have a problem with somebody and they've sinned against you, you try to reach out to them. And if they don't answer you, then you go to the church. And I ain't got a problem bringing a bunch of fools to your church at all, Negro. You better get on your game, man. And I'm going to say this here because, you know, might have a little stroke. You know, one of his good friends happens to be the mayor of Houston. Sylvester, do something with your boy, man.
You know, when you go to that church's link, I sent an email to everybody that was that held a position at that church. And when this story broke and we were going to do this, it's almost like God sinned that all the links were broken. I've got no response, none of this stuff. And yet this man sits there and says that he's the man of God and all this other stuff. Let's take away everything that has happened. He's seen the video. I'm very sure he's aware of the video. I'm very sure he's aware of his property. The property has been built on a toxic dump site. What kind of man of God would okay a project like that? And even if he did come in after the fact, not do something to fix it. And yet people
you ask what kind of man of God would do that? That knuckle. That ain't no man of God, Donovan. That's a charlatan. That's a snake. To do that to your own people and then ignore them and think that you're going to be comfortable. Hey, Pastor, you got the big house out in Crockett, Texas, huh? Oh, old Monroe been doing his homework. Guess who coming to breakfast, clown?
Well, he also said, now he being the deacon, his armor bearer, I don't know who he was. He came out there, you know. He said that the property is not built on our old landfill. So did we ever get any more information? Now, I don't know if it was that particular property or it was the property before.
I've had whole schools shut down because of mold infestation. It doesn't matter if it was built on a landfill or not. If it's molded, you cannot paint over the mold and think it's not going to come back. When you paint over the mold, it's going to come back worse. On top of that, mold is so toxic. It will give you respiratory issues if you sit around it and inhale it long enough. Undoubtedly, it's done something to this man's wife. And it's sad. And I'll say this here. I got meetings set up this week with 2 city council people. We're going to discuss this.
As it should be discussed. I mean, you know, I don't know if he's been getting the messages and, you know, up until then, but it's like, why wait till somebody comes outside of your church and exposes you? You know, why wait till it gets to that point and then you're going to come on, you know, forget going into the comment section. Why not come onto the war zone and, you know, and speak your piece, or at least say what it is you're trying to do to help this man and his family? I mean, we're talking about the life of a human being and her child. That, you know, they are, you know, from what he says, she's dying. So I don't know how anybody really can sit by and ignore that. But, you know, it also, we saw the deacons or whoever they were, cousins or somebody, come out there and it's like, y'all gonna defend this? I mean, I get it. They don't want, you know, the ruckus to go on as church. As you say, you don't want to mess up the church's money. But, you know, at least try to look into it and say, hey, we'll get back to you, something. But he would rather spend time, and I doubt it was him. As somebody pointed out to me, it was probably his people coming on there, because I doubt he was sitting there putting all those links on everybody's comment section. Well, why not come on a war zone, or, you know, make a statement instead of trying to put these old, you know, videos out? Just because you're having Bible study and you're having a graduation don't mean that you're not a slumlord. That doesn't cancel out the fact that you really may be a slumlord.
Right. Well, Hitler had the Hitler Youth. Did that make him a great guy?
Well, if he having a graduation, that means you got a school there. That means you use the church for something else. You get money from somebody else. Like I said, all these people are connected some kind of way. And Pastor, I just want to let you know that God gave me an assignment. He did not tell me how to do it, but I am not Saul. He will not shorten my days for putting my foot in your ass.
Well, I mean, the pastors are supposed to be held accountable. It says that they are held to a higher standard. And so, they're held to a higher standard. And so they're supposed to be asked questions and, you know, held accountable, making sure they're doing right by the people inside and outside of the church. God doesn't say, well, just because you're, even though you're a pastor, all you have to be responsible is for the people inside. You got to be responsible for the people outside too, because they're watching your walk and they're going to judge Christianity, God, Jesus, whoever, by the things that the pastor does as a man. And so now that we are sitting here discussing him and his slumlord ways, there's a lot of people who, you know, if that's your belief, might have been entertaining going to that church or to church. And now they're saying, okay, well, I don't think I'm going to participate in that religion, because look at how the man of God is behaving.
That man a false prophet, man. A whole bunch of them running around here, false prophets, man. And they all connected to the city of Houston. And that's what it is. And when it's all said and done, you know, Pastor, I don't know if they told you, but man, I can, you know, some days the devil jump inside of me, homeboy. And when the devil jump inside old Monroe, I'm going to introduce you to Lucifer, clown.
You better hope you don't have no good ass holy water on them, some holy oil. The Spirit of Christ compels you.
Well, if people are sitting in there knowing what's going on, that is not a holy sanctuary to me. They might as well just go on and start selling dope and running hoes out the back door.
Now, I ain't saying they doing that there, but they doing that at somebody's church, okay? I'm sure if COVID doesn't hit you, they need some more hustles.
You know, but my question is this. Why would, okay, I understand that pastor's doing his own hustle and stuff like that, but even as a landlord, you got to do certain things to keep your property up. And I'm sure these people got complaints. I mean, if I was the person, I would be owning that church. I would be suing to own that church and everything that pastor has.
Well, here's a question, Donovan, Demetri. Why is always us messing over us? Why it always look like the black folk messing over the black folk. That's what really gets to me the most out of everything. Every time you look up, it's one of us in the front of the camera with our heads down, trying to duck the camera with them cuffs on because we done did something we ain't had no business. And these pastors are out of control.
Well, I believe it's Hosea 4:6 that says, my people were destroyed for their lack of knowledge and their rejection of truth. And so it's a sad fact that our people are not knowledgeable for a whole lot of reasons. A lot of it is because we don't want to be. And some of it, we just don't know what there is to know. But the other part of that whole scripture is the rejection. So when someone tells them, hey, this is what's going on, we have that a lot in our community. This is what's going on. No, I don't think that's what's going on. No. But then when they find out it's going on, it's already too late. They're already in a bad situation. And so it's not having the knowledge, and it's also rejecting the knowledge.
Well, I tell you what, I think he need a new name. Let's call him Pastor Chicken George.
Exactly. Well, okay, so he has this big congregation or this little church, whatever it is. You mean to tell me all of those deacons and the first ladies and sister with the big hat and all that other stuff, they are cool with all of this? I mean, the evidence is there. I'm sure some of them have looked at it, and they're still rolling with this pastor, knowing that this is going on. Is that?
Well, I mean, we all know of churches where the pastor has done some heinous things, and it's been discovered that some heinous things are going on in the church, and the congregation goes along with it. In fact, they wholeheartedly defend everything that they're doing. I know of a church, we have some feedback, Gary. I know of a church where the pastor was found to be having a sexual relationship with a 15-year-old girl. And it was, text messages and it was just proof. It was like non-disputable, right? And church members got on the news, say, oh, no, not my pastor. I don't believe her. I just don't seem right. My pastor would never do that. Now, what they didn't tell you is that pastor was kicked out of a church and did time before that church for the same thing. He actually got a 15-year-old pregnant at the last church, and the church paid off the family, and he continued to do his thing. And so a lot of times the church members are complicit because they actually think their pastor is Jesus. They think that
right.
Pastor is the second coming.
Yeah, because that kind of reminds me of Bishop Scumbag Eddie Long in Atlanta. Didn't he have, with the boys and stuff like that, and the church was out there just defending him and anointing him as this. We got to do better, people. I'm sorry. We just have to do better.
I ain't got nothing to say but 2 words and say it like 6 times. Kirby John, Kirby John, Kirby John.
All right now. Yeah, but I mean, it's a vicious cycle, because we know, especially, and I'm not saying this necessarily about that pastor, and I think we want to go on the record as much as possible and say allegedly, because we don't have too many hard, cold facts. We want to, just say that. But a lot of pastors prey on the people because, and I'm not talking about prey on the people, I'm talking about prey on the people, because the
P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y, pray.
Right. Because the people just don't, there's a lot, especially us in our churches, we are afraid to ask the pastors any questions or, anything. We're afraid the ground is going to open and swallow us up whole for asking a question. Hey, Pastor, I gave quite a bit of money last month in the tithes and offering. Here you are talking about the lights are about to get cut off. Did you pay the bill? Well, don't worry about that. That's between me and God. How dare you ask a man of God? Don't you trust a man of God? And, all that other stuff. And, we go away and we don't ask no more questions.
Well, I tell you this here, the elected officials ain't going to say nothing about the pastors because that's where they get their votes from. They know these dudes is crooked. They know that man out there wrong for what he doing to Spencer and his family, but they not gonna say nothing because Turner got a lot of votes out of there. Right now they got a COVID-19 free testing site over there. See, with that free testing site for you come a whole bunch of federal government money. So they ain't gonna say nothing. They don't care if that lady die. That's just, in the immortal words of NWA, that's one less nigga they gotta worry about.
And Errol, you are correct. You say the pastor is usually smarter than the sheep. And I would guess, they should be to some degree. They're standing up there in front of the church and they supposed to have the Bible open and teaching the people. But I think they're smart in a way to where they're conniving. They're able, not all of them, but a lot of them are able to actually hustle the people, because most people don't even know what the Bible says at all. They don't have any knowledge of what the Bible says. The pastor can say, okay, today we're going to get butt naked and swing off the chandeliers, and then we're going to do a Watusi down the pews. And people would, he'll say, oh, and by the way, that's in Revelations 2 and 3. And the people will do it because they don't know. And they won't even open it up as the Bible tells you to do, study to show thyself approved, rightfully dividing the word of truth. People won't do that. They'll just take the pastor at his word and just, go with it, end up having a whole host of things going on. But like we all said, we all know of a church in our community that's bilking the people. We all know of a church. I got one right around the corner from me that's been on a major television show, the Pastors of LA, but I won't say his name, although you guys can probably figure out who he is. And I'm telling you, right around the corner from me is the hood.
He had a mustache.
Right around the corner from me is the hood, the hood, the hood, the hood. When I tell you the hood, like if I go walking to the store, my daughter and I go walking the store, it's like everywhere.
Wait. I'm gonna have to stop you right there. We got some feedback. I have to stop you right there. Where you live is not the hood. It's the barrio. Because remember, there ain't no black folks out here anymore. It's the barrio.
I want to give a shout out, if I can, to Judge Stacey Williams. She tunes in as much as she can, and that's a lot during the week that she tunes in. But this young lady is running for the Texas State Supreme Court, the highest court in the state of Texas. And I just want to shout out, actually, when I sent out my endorsements the other day, she is one of the people that I endorsed for the Texas State Supreme Court. So I just want to scream that.
Well, big shout out to you. Woohoo!
So Dimitri, you were saying in the barrio, go ahead.
Yeah, so that it's right around the corner. And it's a bad situation, depending on where you go, but the church is right smack dab in the middle of that. And then I don't see any improvements in that neighborhood at all. But on any given Sunday, you can see a whole host of Black people in their Sunday best crossing, back and forth across the street to get into this church. And it's like, well, look at the neighborhood that is in. It's like, and I almost wonder if these pastors purposely put these churches in these dilapidated, very needy neighborhoods for a reason, because they prey on the hopes of people. And Errol, yes, exactly what it is. It's pimping. They get in there and prey on the hope of the people in the neighborhood. Oh, everything's gonna be all right. Bye, pie in the sky. Just come on in here and give all your money so I see the face, sister so-and-so. It's gonna be all right. I don't care if you don't pay that light bill. Come on and bring that money. God is gonna make it all right. But he doesn't tell sister so-and-so, you better have some candles and some matches available just in case.
You brought up a good point, because I noticed that the other day when I was out there at the church, the neighborhood looks like garbage. And you got this big ass church sitting in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a war zone. That's just a palace. But we can't seem to fix up the neighborhood. Man, these dudes winning. They got a better game going on than the dope game. That's all I can say. You pastors, y'all on it, man. Y'all on it, man. How many grams you can get in the back of the church?
Well, isn't it funny? I'm a Catholic, but here's my question. Why is it that whenever you hear the pastor's testimony, he was either a pimp, a drug addict, or a drug dealer? I've never yet, and I'm still looking for this pastor that said, I was making millions of dollars up in Silicon Valley, and I just gave it up for God. I have yet to find that pastor. It's always the street urchins that control the black churches, and it's just a shame. It's just a shame.
Final thoughts, Ms. Demetra.
So final thoughts are, because I forgot what we was talking about. Y'all had a long day. There's this saying. It says, those who control the first hour of the day wins the day. And I'm going to tell y'all, I won the day. And what I'm trying to say is, I did not log on to social media. I'm trying to wean myself off of social media because, oh my God, I am wasting a lot of time just scrolling and watching a bunch of bullcockers. So I'm trying to be off of it. But I won the day because I didn't log on to social media the first hour of the day. And I was so productive. And that's why I'm tired. You guys probably saw me yawn. But anyway, I just like to say this. Before you donate money, figure out who you're donating the money to. And as far as this pastor, we're going to keep you guys updated. We're also staying in touch with Mr. Spencer Farwell to see how we can help them. He actually reached out to me. I don't know if he reached out to you guys with some extra information. And so we're going to keep you guys abreast of what's going on. I'm sure Pastor Matthews is watching. How you doing? Get at us so you can come on here. We'd love to have a very respectful conversation with you and see how we can get Mr. Farwell and his family some help.
Final thought.
Well, we're talking about these nonprofits and these churches and stuff, and giving and taking and all that other stuff. Well, we're less than 90 days away from an election, and you're going to have a lot of candidates coming at you requesting money and those things. Please, just before you give them the money, look at their record and see what they're doing. Make sure that their agenda is the same as your agenda. And I also want to give a shout out to the Jones podcast. That's our brother show. I saw the 5-star on that show, and I'm gonna tell you guys this. I thought that I can job it out here. I can't compare what the 5 stars doing because this man doesn't sleep. And he was on the show, Demetra Smith show. There's all kinds of good information you can get out there. So if you're into making good trouble, check out our brother and sisters podcast and get some information. And I'm very sure you're going to see that 5-star on all of the major networks.
I want to say this here to Pastor Isaac Matthews. Nigga, stop. That's all I got to tell you, man. You better pick that phone up. That's what you better do. Saint, another spirited discussion from the likes of the best in the business is the War Zone with my co-host Donovan Sadiq, the Queen, Demetra K, and I am the 5-star general. Until tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, we'll holler.